Thank you. Tell me, how much time do you have before that very strangely silent buzzer sounds? Okay. Okay, so I have 20. Okay, good. So, so what I'll do is, before I start, do you have any opinions? Do you think AI can work without data? Anyone? Anyone who thinks it can? Who's the yes? That genius has just won a Nobel Prize. But you know, you're right. There are possibilities where it can, though possibly not the, potentially not the right way you would like to do it. So obviously when I had this, I mean, it sounded so obvious that look, data is the lifeblood of AI, and it is. And so first we will obviously talk about how, but then I'll like to leave with a little bit of a provocation that maybe it doesn't. And so for the next 19, 18, so look, the important thing to understand is that if you go back into history, there have been tools or technologies that human beings have invented which have not just changed business or work, or, but it's gone on to change our life, our planet, our society. It's gone on to change humanity. A set of tools we invented democratized food, created an abundance of food, and we called it the agricultural revolution. And then the next one democratized or made labor abundant, and we called it the industrial revolution. And then as we went further, information, when it became abundant, it was democratized. Everyone could participate in it with search, with the internet. It became the, the information revolution. And then today, we are at the cusp of one more. It's as big. In this one, intelligence will become abundant. Suddenly, intelligence is going to be democratized, including with artificial intelligence. And we're at the cusp of these things which change everything about us. We feel both excited and terrified. And I'm pretty sure that that's what we all feel, not only in our work, but in our life, and as we look around in geopolitics, society, etc. And it's this revolution which is being led, in a sense, by what started 60 years back with the Dartmouth conference. That's when AI, the word AI or artificial intelligence was put forward by this paper. I keep papers because we in our hardcore business world forget that basic research doesn't come from any one of us. All of these things actually come from deep research which people are toiling away at universities, and we sometimes look down on them. And this paper in 1955-56 created artificial intelligence. And then another paper, and sorry, in this artificial intelligence, however, was not ChatGPT, which we think as the definition of AI. For about 55, 60 years, it was about machine learning, it was about deep learning, it was about reinforcement learning, terms which I will not go through. But the only thing that you should see here is this red word, which is everywhere. All of them relied on this four-letter word called data. Whether it be structured, whether it be unstructured, whether it be in form of images or videos, there was no AI and is no AI, until recently perhaps, without data. Another paper came out in 2017 called Attention is All You Need, one of the most remarkable papers of this century. And this paper gave rise to this new kind of algorithm which is called the transformer. And this transformer created something called the various series of GPTs until 3.5, which was ChatGPT, came in. And that's when we started noticing. But generative AI was the end result of a whole lot of work happening in AI around machine learning, deep learning, natural language processing, large language models which got created, etc. And eventually, the generative AI came in. But surrounding all of that, all of this existed in an ocean, a blue ocean of data. Data is behind all of these. The difference, however, in generative AI is that unlike data, which was powering AI, which was much more structured, much more mathematical in a sense, tabular, numerical, this one relies on what you and I also rely on to learn, which is language. And 3.3, GPT-3 famously, the pre-training data for that famously was the entire internet. And the entire internet was kind of downloaded, and then the transformer models could kind of predict what is the next word after you write a series of words. And this, the world's most powerful autocomplete engine at scale, created GPT 3.5. It makes up stuff as it goes along. It's optimized for plausibility, believability, not the truth. It sometimes is creative, sometimes hallucinates. And it's very much like human beings. We also do the same. The only two species which are created on language is us and generative AI. And language is nothing but data. Interesting thing is, the word used here is pre-trained. Pre-trained. The P of GPT. Pre-trained basically meant it was trained on a lot of data and then stopped getting trained because they shut the pipe down. And so that you could have it clean, you could have the guardrails, etc. And so there's one school of thought which can say that, look, after this, we don't need any data. It's already been pre-trained on bunches of data, the entire internet. After that, we don't really require data. So, AI can lead alone without it having data after the pre-training is over. But is that true? Is that not true? We'll kind of see as we go forward. But as you can see, initially trained on a huge amount of text data, and then it became more than text. And then, the training kind of stopped after a while. Now, some of this has changed with subsequent large language models, especially Perplexity and a few others, though Perplexity classically is not an LLM, but a few others which have kind of opened the pipe to the internet, and therefore the training is pretty much continuous. But still, the data part continues. So if you kind of think about what is AI, what is generative AI or AI, the core three things which AI needs, sometimes called ABC, where A is the algorithm, and in generative AI case, the algorithm was the transformer, a new kind of algorithm. B is actually big data. They had to fit data in B, so they called it big data, but data. And third is C, stands for compute. All of AI is really A, B, and C. Without each of these, it's not going to work. So you could take away one of the three, and AI stops. It cannot lead in its way, etc. It's the basic. This session could have been titled, will there be, is data is data the lifeblood of AI? It could be, is algorithms the lifeblood of AI, or is compute the lifeblood of AI? Each of these three have the same level of importance. Perhaps data more than these three, because while the other two power AI, data makes it more relevant, more accurate, or more useful than any of the other two do. The other two are far more enabling factors, while data is really the raw material in a sense. So if you think of data as oil, then the other two are kind of, fractionating columns or refineries or, petrochemical plants, which are actually creating different outputs from this new oil in a sense. And this world is going to change even more. As we move, I was telling someone earlier that if 2023 was the year of ChatGPT and 2024 was the year of this proliferation of large language models, 2025 is going to be the year of agentic AI, AI agents. Some of you would have already heard this word lots of times, and lots of money going into. But AI agents, think of it, are apps which are given agency, AI which is given agency, which can now do stuff. A Make My Trip or a booking app could tell you everything about what kind of bookings are available. A booking agent will actually book it for you, much like travel agents do. And similarly in customer service, similarly. But the importance here is that this relies on data even more. Because here it continuously sucks in data from the environment. That's what an agent is. It takes in data from the environment, figures out what needs to be done, and then takes action. And some of that data would be our personal data, in terms of our calendar data, our email data, et cetera, to know what our preferences are, what kind of flights we like, et cetera. And so as we get more and more into agents, and actually Bill Gates wrote this thing presciently about a year and a half back, that agents are the new platform. Separate topic, agentic AI is all I will talk about in 2025, but we haven't yet hit 2025, so let me move on to a couple of other things. Since this is a marketing-related conference, I did want to kind of squeeze in this slide, so this doesn't have much to do with the actual topic itself. But the wrenching change that you guys felt when you moved from traditional marketing to digital marketing, the same wrenching change you will feel now, whereas digital marketing evolves to AI-led marketing. And agents will be a big part of that. And so if, at the industrial customer level, if the choice was limited, standardized, and with the digital customer, with Amazon, et cetera, it became abundant and very comparison-driven, it's going to become hyper-personalized and infinite with AI. And the hyper-personalization, again, will be largely driven through, obviously, data, a lot of data. We saw the word personalization. By the way, this whole thing is my IP. And I co-share it with Claude and 4.0. Okay, because the three of us sat together for about 45 minutes to kind of create this thing of the internet customer, digital customer, et cetera. And there's more behind it. But if, for example, the interactions were transactional, local, and they became omni-channel and social, and everything changed, everything will change again when they become conversational and much more immersive. Or if brand relationships had to do with functional loyalty with the industrial customer, and then it moved to emotional and social loyalty, very important, social loyalty, they're going to move to a collaborative partnership. I said that me, ChatGPT, and Claude sat and worked in this together. That's how customers are going to make decisions going forward. It's not about just clicking on a reactive basis on multiple links, but actually kind of much like you ask friends in a social way, the digital customer asked friends on social networks, we're going to consult and have conversations with our own personal AI assistants, perhaps. Sometimes let them decide if we give them agency and they become agents, or we decide basis our conversations with someone who we think probably knows the contextually more than we do, and kind of look at everything and say that, look, this makes more sense for you. This is something you've already bought, a black-colored shoe you've already bought 1.5 years back. Maybe you want to try something different. There are these new kind of sneakers which are coming in. This is the new style. So how we used to do this socially, it's kind of going to move to this whole AI-based marketing, which obviously relies a lot on data. And marketeers, rightly so, sometimes feel that they are the most under threat. After all, this is a cognitive technology. Creativity is its forte, with everything Sora, Aura, everything that you see out there. And therefore, what is left for us? We also feel sometimes that large language models hallucinate too much, and all this hallucination really doesn't help in work. I feel differently. I believe that generative AI is the best thing that has happened to marketing so far. It's up to us to figure out how. Let me give you a couple of things. I wrote an article in Mint, I write regularly there, a few months back, where I actually argued that for marketeers, and only for marketeers, hallucinations of generative AI were a feature, not a bug. All of us are the most creative when we hallucinate. And by hallucinate, I don't necessarily mean that you start taking hallucinogenics to do that. Okay, but you don't become creative when you are not in that space. You think about it, the benzene structure, hexagon structure, was created by this guy hallucinating about 6 snakes kind of, eating each other up. Vincent van Gogh hallucinated all the time and created the best art in the world. Okay, Archimedes was sitting in a bathtub when he figured out what he figured out. Creative stuff doesn't happen in normal circumstances. And therefore, I think there are, by the way, agencies already which have come up, not here, but in the US, et cetera, which are using the hallucination feature of generative AI to create fantastic new campaigns. And the second thing, when Sora came out, Sam Altman had this thing out there where he was asking for prompts, and he asked for a prompt. Kunal Shah, whom we all know, said that bicycle race on ocean with different animals as athletes riding the bicycles with a drone camera view. And this is what Sora gave out, which is amazing. But the question I want to ask you is, with that prompt and this output by Sora, who was being creative? Kunal Shah or Sora? Obviously Kunal Shah. Kunal Shah wouldn't have thought of this if there was no Sora. And that's how you need to think about generative AI. It's not something which is coming and taking our creativity or other faculties. It's actually making us think better. It's actually making us more human in the age of AI, which is, by the way, another pet topic which I keep on talking about. And we will discover our human faculties more and become better if we kind of think of this AI as a gift which has dropped on us rather than this threat which is going to kind of create everything. So does data shape AI, or can AI lead alone? I obviously did this conversation with This time it's Claude, by the way. It kind of depends. I kind of figure out. Sometimes I take a conversation from Claude and feed it to GPT-4o, okay, to see, it's some fun happening. I thought we'll do it live. We don't have the time. I respect the buzzer. Hint, hint. And therefore, what I'm going to do is just say that what happened in this conversation between us. This is not just the sheer actual naked output, by the way. This is kind of a conversation which related to a lot of stuff. And it said, it's foundational for contextual understanding, evolution of models, et cetera, et cetera. I won't go through this. What I will go through, if my slide changes, is that, so then there were some philosophical, ethical considerations, which is what I revel in, if it may. And Claude sometimes is better at this philosophy stuff than GPT-4o is. Another suggestion. And so, it talked about the fact that if it really didn't require data, there's the risk of autonomy. If AI operates independently of data, it could actually become less transparent, and the ethical boundaries would actually go away. One of the other things that it said was, very interesting. And here's the counter-argument. The counter-argument is, there are two counter-arguments I'm going to make. This is the first one, which actually Claude helped me in doing so. That maybe AI doesn't require data. I don't believe that. But there's stuff which we didn't believe, and then stuff happened to us with ChatGPT, et cetera, and we have started believing it. And so the first counter-argument is actually that you don't need data. Why? AI will produce its own data. You don't need data. In fact, if you ask Sam Altman until recently, he said that, look, GPT-5, which now I don't know if it's ever going to come, GPT-5 will be trained on data produced by GPT-4. GPT-6 on the data produced by GPT-5. Et cetera, because then, you get rid of all the copyright issues which marketing people, et cetera, come and, and publishers, et cetera, come and kind of, trouble him with. But then we realized that by GPT-9, and there's a very interesting paper which I've not shown you here, which basically, by GPT-9, GPT becomes gibberish if it keeps on feeding off its own synthetic data. And that's the counter to the counter argument that you can't just rely on synthetic data. There are certain scenarios which you can, but only synthetic data isn't going to help. But the final argument that I want to put, and with that I'll finish, and it's the provocation, if it may. Actually, there's one more thing before that where I have to blow my own trumpet. I'll come to that. There was another paper, the third one that I'm showing here, which is very interesting. It was called Sparks of AGI. And this came out through the Microsoft Research Labs. And it basically talked about something called emergent properties. And the emergent properties concept was very interesting. This thing which you've written on top just gives me the creeps even when I read it. So what emergent properties mean is that the AI was actually producing results which had never been trained on, which was not envisaged, where there was no precedence, where the raw material for that had not been given. It had not happened. And as Sir Arthur Eddington said, something unknown is doing, we don't know what. And this 100-page paper and the video, which is easier to consume along with that, actually tells you that, we have given it data of something, but what it is producing is something which we never thought it would. And that's why the concept is called Sparks of AGI. That's what the paper is called, of artificial general intelligence. And with this colorful picture, can anyone recognize what this colorful picture is? Any guesses? No, well, close. Yeah, it contributed to that. Obviously generated by one of the engines, foundation models. The evolution, right? Yeah, exactly. This is what is called the primordial soup, through which life emerged, people say. Huge amounts of things were thrown into it, and somewhere something happened. Something was doing something which we don't know what, and life emerged. And maybe what is happening in these dark recesses of these massive large language models is that new kinds of stuff is being produced, even though the data for it is not there. And that's a counter-argument. The Sparks of AGI paper has been debunked a few times, but still holds. So what do we do about it now? See, I believe that, this is about my blowing my own trumpet. Okay, so I believe that AI is not about getting trained. AI is not about expertise. AI is about literacy. I'm going to be 15 seconds ahead. AI is about literacy. Literacy was about knowing English, knowing reading, writing, arithmetic. it's going to be reading, writing, arithmetic, and how to work with AI tools. And actually, AI and Beyond, the other company which I've created recently, actually builds AI literacy in organizations. All of us will need to be data and AI literate to survive in this world. Thank you very much. 9 seconds left.
Thank you so much. And, firstly, let's give him a big, big round of applause. What an honor having Jaspreet, you're with us on stage. And, of course, I'd like to invite Ms. Monica Khurana, Country Head and BOD Member, MMA Global India, to help us make this moment even more special and, of course, give a token of appreciation to our very special speaker, ladies and gentlemen. A big, big round of applause for none other than Mr. Jaspreet Bindra. All right, okay, first, a set of goodies, of course. Let's give it ahead to Monica.
Okay, so I had to take the mic. Firstly, to thank Jaspreet on behalf of MMA. This was the best valedictory session we could have had for the day. Absolutely on point with our theme. And a lot of provocation, which is what I like, because whilst we agree it's data first, AI next, but then there is another level which he just unveiled to us, which is actually something which, we just have to grow on with. So I think you did a fantastic job. Truly appreciated, and huge gratitude.
Thank you so much.